Good morning, everyone. Well, good morning from me. Good morning, afternoon, evening, or night to anyone who's watching it in one of those times. I know it's been a while. Again, my apologies. It's the same song and dance every time. I have a delay in uploading. Yes, life gets in the way. Blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry, but thanks for tuning in anyway. Obviously, as you can see on the screen, this is probably the top story right now, though I have a few other things that I do want to get into in separate videos. I'm still doing the one topic, one video strategy right now. It seems to be working a little bit better for me, just as far as getting these smaller videos. It's quicker to like edit them and upload them. They upload a lot quicker, all that stuff, and then exporting it from one program to another and all that stuff. So also, I'm going to be trying to take a little bit of a break on covering the whole Russia-Ukraine stuff, mainly because we all know what's going on. It's the same song and dance. If something like groundbreaking happens, then of course I'll look into it. But as of right now, it's the same thing. The West is saying, Putin can't do anything right. Russia and their allies are saying, any day, any week, any month now, Donbass is going to fall completely, which is looking more and more true with the Azovstal steelworks being completely taken over and thousands more Ukrainians surrendering of the Azov battalion. So anything outside of that would be me just repeating the same things that other channels who are a lot more knowledgeable about the situation, like the Duran and Gonzalo Lira. They obviously know a little bit more, and I pretty much go to them for all of my updates. I don't trust anywhere else, to be frank. So with this is probably one of the more, well, in some circles, one of the more touchy subjects to talk about because it involves gun violence. So of course we had the awful shooting that took place in Uvalde, Texas, and I just want to say that I mean, it goes without saying that this was a terrible tragedy. It shouldn't have happened. My heart goes out to these families, these people who are devastated in this community. And our duty as people who want the truth, want answers, well, sometimes we have to take matters in our own hands and do our own digging and investigating. And let me just tell you this whole situation is just one giant cluster expletive. You know exactly what I mean. Like, anybody who's watching this channel probably already knows all the stuff that I'm going to talk about, but this is just absolutely ridiculous as to the events that unfolded that and led to what was it? I think it's 19 now. 19 poor little kids. And let's just get the obvious out of the way. Anybody who would do something like that is seriously deranged and insane. So, but there's a number of things that are going around, and I grabbed some screenshots, as I always do, and a number of them. And first things first, the fact that there was first things first, guns. Okay, let's just get that out of the way. There was probably, of course, like the number one thing everyone's going to point to is how did he get these guns? There should be more background checks. There should be this. There should be that. A lot of people, especially protesters, talk about reform and keeping people like this from getting a gun. It's like, look, there needs to, like people honestly think there needs to be additional forms and checks and all that stuff, and it's like, listen, this kid was 18 years old. Maybe he did post some edgy stuff on social media, maybe not. I mean, I honestly don't really know. There's so many rumors floating around about this kid that I have to be very careful what I say because it could be wrong. I was wrong initially on a few things when I was talking about it with my fiance earlier in the week. Turns out a bunch of stuff was actually just rumor and it wasn't true. So I've been very, very careful. This is why I take so long in uploading, because a lot of the topics I want to discuss, I want to make sure I have all my facts in order. I mean, I honestly wanted to cover this earlier in the week. A, I didn't have time, obviously, and then B, I really needed to get as much information as possible before I delve into this. So, when people say they need, more checks, more background checks, it's like no amount of background checks could have probably found anything wrong with this 18-year-old. And if they want more forms, I mean, what do you want? Like a psych evaluation? Like that's never going to happen, People who want to do something like this are going to find a way to get a gun legally or illegally. And, it's not that hard to just pretend to be normal and go in and buy a rifle. You can't just, people don't have a sixth sense where they can just detect, an insane person is there in front of them purchasing a rifle and they're going to do something terrible. And then the next, thing comes around. It's like, we need to ban these rifles. It's all like, okay, well, what's going to happen when a kid shows up with a pistol or a shotgun, Then that's next on the chopping block. It's like you're literally going down the line until there's nothing left. And I stand by the Second Amendment, shall not be infringed. And that's pretty much where the conversation ends with me. You're not taking away any weapons. There's a reason why the forefathers made that amendment, and it was to protect the United States citizens from doing exactly what these crazy anti-gun people are trying to do to them right now, which is encourage on their rights and strip them of stuff that they lawfully own under the Constitution. So, and that leads me to my first screenshot is, let's see, this one. So this was the gun that was purchased from Daniel Defense. This was the rifle that was used, and we'll get to this idiot talking about it in a second. But look at the price tag here, $1,870. Now, maybe he got financing for $92.94 a month, but let's be real. I don't think there's an 18-year-old anywhere that's going to be able to qualify for financing. And $1,800, I ain't got that lying around, and I sure as heck don't want to put it on a credit card right now. So the fact that he had an almost $2,000 rifle, plus the ammunition, really makes me wonder, like, okay, how did he get the money for this? I don't suspect his grandparents just gave him the money for it. And I don't know if he also had a pistol or whatever, but the fact that he had something this expensive really, like, raises a lot of questions. Like, where did he get the money from? Now, sure, he could have worked a job and saved up, but, like, I mean, what, did he just literally have no life? I mean, the kid was 18 years old. He was probably working at some, like, like minimum wage job or something like that. Then again, wages have gone up in some of those places, but still, like, I just find it's just hard to imagine, like, a young kid getting enough money to get it to purchase. But it can it's a possibility. And then this moron, Zach Seward. Okay, we bought a gun the same day. So it was like ordering groceries. Click, checkout, done. So first off, that's a lie. And everybody called him out for it. And then he goes, a few criticisms leveled at this piece are worth addressing. And this is an article that he wrote. 1, some view it as a sick, quote, how-to for would-be buyers for assault rifles, but the point is to demonstrate that it requires no how-to whatsoever. It's one thing to know how easy it is, but a lot more powerful to see it. So basically, anybody can go online and order a gun to be shipped to a dealer and for you to go and pick it up. But the thing is that exactly what he outlines here. Others think we glossed over the requirement to show up in person at a dealer and pass a background check. We didn't. It's all over the piece. You have to show ID when picking up your online alcohol order too. What's the point of your article then? That the system worked for you? You went down there, you had to go through a background check, and you had to present ID to prove that you were exactly who you stated to be. I had the same thing when I worked for a security company where I was armed many years ago, and I had to go down to a store and buy a pistol, and I got like a gun allowance credit from the company that I was going to pay back, and I was in there for maybe 20 minutes just waiting on the background check to come back. I was looking at holsters and all that stuff. I was there for like 15, 20 minutes while the computer was just running my background. And then they verified my ID. I think they even made a copy of it. I had to fill out the form. And then of course I walked out with a gun. But the fact of the matter is that I had to go through 20 minutes of a background check on a computer. Now granted, this was back in 2011, so maybe things have sped up a little bit, but I was there. I felt like I was there for a while and waiting for this background check to come back. So this completely clueless person thinks that they are making an argument here for why we need gun control, but in the very article that he writes, he states exactly all the stuff that he had to go through in order for him to physically pick it up. So this guy obviously is just it's just another one of those misleaders when it comes to this whole thing. So the next thing is talking about the car that he crashed. I don't know if it was his grandparents' car or whatnot, and he apparently there was a report initially that he exchanged fire with a SCORE resource officer. But then it came out that was not true. And it's all like, well, why were people lying about that? Well, where did that come from? And then he gets into the school. Now, schools are supposed to all be locked. So everybody is sitting here wondering, well, how did he get inside? Now, my fiance, she's a teacher. And at the school that they all have to swipe in to get entrance, to get into the school. And the only way outside... like any other person has to actually have an appointment, and they have to be let in by the front office, and all the doors are locked. So it's a very secure building. So it kind of makes you wonder what the heck kind of security did this school have? I get it's a small town, Uvalde, Texas, but you would think they would have some kind of security control there. So then we come to find out that here, this is from Bill Malugin from Fox News. Texas DPS announces that a teacher at the school propped a door open at the school before the shooting. The SRO drove to campus after hearing 911 call, inadvertently drove right by the shooter who was kneeling down by a car. So first off, what the heck would possess this teacher to prop a door open and not close it after they were doing whatever it was that they were doing? I mean, it's just, and this was at, 11:30 in the morning? School's in session. Like, why was the door propped open? That is a big, big question that needs to be answered, and somebody needs to take responsibility for it. Because this is very, very sketchy and unusual is the word I'm looking for. So it kind of just, gets the noggin jogging a little bit. Like, why the heck was the door propped open? That makes no sense whatsoever. So then this leads to the response to the police response. So the police get there, and apparently some of them stacked up on the door, but then they decided not to go in. And then they waited, and they waited, and they said they were waiting for a tactical team or something like that. As you can see here, it was the wrong decision, police say, of delay in confronting gunmen. Of course, absolutely. There are kids inside. There should be a paternal instinct in both men and women. When children are in danger, the first thing you do is get them out of danger as quickly as possible and eliminate anything that's trying to do harm to them. That's why this picture here really resonates with the populace. Parents literally trying to get inside to rush the gunman to try and save their children and the other children. That's what I'm talking about. But then these officers detain the people and are more focused on keeping them out of the school instead of doing their doggone job and running in there and being a hero. And this is what's so wrong with our society right now. 20 years ago, the SRO probably would have ran in there first without backup because kids are in danger. Now, to take a step back, like a 1,000-foot view of this whole thing, and I say this very lightly, and this is in no way a defense of the police officers that didn't go in. But I've known and I know people who have been in combat situations, who have had to take point or have had to command soldiers who had to take point in building clearouts and breaching clears, basically, of residential buildings in the Middle East. And these are 18-year-old kids on stuff like that, 20-year-old kids in their 20s, but there is fear in a lot of them going into something like that, where they're going to be exposed as soon as they walk through the door. And I've had a few NCOs tell me they were like, one of them was telling me in response to the Douglas Stoneman High School in Broward County, I think that's the name of the school, and how the sheriff out there, who was an old man, to give him some slack, Broward County, affluent area, he's an older guy, he's assigned a cushy detail at a high school, he's probably close to retirement, probably never drew his gun in his entire career, just looking to retire and retire peacefully and, out of the limelight, all got upended with this. And sure, training, your job, when something like this happens, you need to do your job. And I wholeheartedly agree. I'd like to think that I would do the same thing in that situation, and I firmly believe that I would do that in that situation. But this retired NCO was telling me, like he understood why there was a hesitancy. He said he wasn't excusing it, but he's just saying, like, I get it because I commanded, young soldiers who had to breach and clear buildings, and I literally had to put my foot on their ass and push them through the door because they weren't going, and they were going to get everybody else killed if they didn't, if they didn't do what they were told to and execute it immediately. So there is fear. But, as the great King Leonidas said in 300, fear is always constant, but accepting it makes you stronger. So that's literally what needs to be taught to these officers. I don't care if you've never drew your gun in your entire life. When something like this happens, this is what defines your job, your career, as responding to an incident like this. This is what you're trained to do. And with all of those cops out there, I find it very hard to believe. I find it very, very, very hard to believe that these cops right here. Now, granted, I have no confirmation at what time this photo was taken, but it's definitely not a good look. I have no idea what time this photo was taken, but it was posted not, I think maybe a day after the shooting. And these were some of the first photos that I saw. So I don't know if this was after the gunman was killed or if these people were still waiting for quote-unquote backup. So it really raises a lot of questions here. But this is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And again, like I said, raises questions. And this right here is just disgusting. Like, I understand you're trying to, keep the situation from devolving into pure insanity with parents rushing the building. But let's not forget that there was a woman who drove 40 miles to the school because she had 2 kids there, was initially detained by the officers, was uncuffed, got away from them, jumped a fence far away from them, got into the building, got her 2 kids, and got out. Now that's heroism right there. But that's like I said, that's that paternal instinct that should be clicking on in these events for everybody. There was also a video on Tucker Carlson showing parents yelling at these cops, and one of the cops even said that he was a parent and like trying to relate to these parents. But it's like that was a very, very poor choice of words, because their immediate response was, if you're a parent, why the F aren't you going in there? Is your kid in there? So it's terrible. And then we get to some hot takes here. One from, and I really don't like posting Scott Adams, but it's my broken clock analogy. Scott Adams, in my opinion, is a broken clock. He's right twice a day, if that. So public schools are bully factories. School choice would help, but teachers' unions prevent it. You can trace 80% of society's problems to teachers' unions and the lack of critical thinking skills in youth. Rare time where I say that's a very interesting point, and I think it's worth looking at. I honestly think it's worth looking at. And as we all saw through the whole COOF, epidemic, teachers' unions were one of the biggest enemies to getting things back to normal when it comes to schools. This one I actually liked a little bit more, from Jason Whitlock, and I never thought I would see armed Texans. Yeah, that's what makes it even worse, is that these are Texans. They're supposed to be the cowboys, man. They're supposed to be the tough Texan, like America's Sparta type people, but they're just standing around while a gunman was killing children in a schoolhouse. But Whitlock makes an interesting point here. He says, I'm not defending the actions of the officers, but we've demonized law enforcement to the point that there are far fewer rewards for being a hero for taking risks. When your culture makes George Floyd the hero, real heroes stand down. Cultural rot has consequences. And then he continues, our culture has moved such a negative direction in the last decade. I'm not sure first responders would run up in the World Trade Towers today. Bold statement. Cultural rot has consequences. When you make heroes of people who contribute nothing and demonize those who risk everything. So I have to agree with him to some degree on this statement. And it makes sense. It really does. It really does. That's why you see morale among police officers in the dumps. That's why you see less and less police officers joining the ranks, or people joining the ranks of police officers, I should say. More and more police officers retiring. My cousin is a police officer in Philadelphia. When he first started the job, he was ecstatic. He was so excited. He loved it, loved doing it. Now, he can't wait to get out. He's looking to retire early and do something else. He hates it now. And this is in Philadelphia, So now we're going to get to, of course, the terrible politicization of this. Now, of course, we're getting things coming out one of the few things NPR did right with this one. This was from August 2018. The federal government said schools reported 235 shootings in one school year. But an investigation finds that more than two-thirds of these reported incidents never happened. So it's like, wait, where'd they get this number from? I don't know if I have any actual screenshots of some of the... I saw so many terrible hot takes that I couldn't even bring myself to save some of them. The screenshots. The White House refused to call for an investigation into the police response to the school shooting in Uvalde, Texas. Biden said has the utmost respect for the men and women of law enforcement. Give me a break. You couldn't have chose a worse situation to drop that comment. Really, though. No investigation? None? Not even one? Just a single one? Put one person on it? Really gets the noggin jogging here. Like, there's so many holes in this story that need to have answers. And, of course, the best one here, J6, leftist, literally, yeah. Buffalo, they skip over all that and go straight to here. Sometimes you just have to laugh to keep from crying. Like, it really is getting that bad. It really is getting that bad. But this is, probably one of the most confusing shootings. I mean, the bare bones facts are obvious, but like the fine details of exactly how this happened and what happened and all that stuff is just astounding, and you really have to wonder, like, what's going to happen next. I've already heard that Governor Abbott and his lieutenant governor, I think, or attorney general, or somebody, the both of them are skipping the. That's another thing. The NRA conference is this weekend in Texas. And Abbott was supposed to be there to speak, and of course he backed out of it. Bad move, in my opinion. Not because like he should sit there and praise the NRA or whatever. I'm just saying, like, go there, speak. That's what leaders do. I mean, sure, he wants to take time to go to the location and speak with parents and all that stuff. That's fine. But you can also carve out time to go do your speech and then go visit them or something like that, or push the speech back. I don't know. Obviously, Trump went there and gave a speech, I believe. I think he went there yesterday, Friday. So, and of course, like, the number one thing that all of these politicians want to do is immediately jump on gun reform and banning certain weapons and taking away guns and all that stuff. And it's just, I mean, we all know it's coming. Like, anytime something like this happens, we can all see it coming, and we have to brace ourselves. And then it just gets so, and then of course it's always worse than we were expecting it to be, and the talking points are dumber than before, and sometimes it's not even worth dignifying with a response because it's so stupid. It's just so stupid. Like Beto O'Rourke barging into Governor Abbott's press conference to stand on a soapbox made of victims and try and grandstand on that and how he thinks that's going to help his election. And that's another thing, man. I mean, this happens. What are we, like 5 months away from the election, the governor election? What is it, May? We're 6 months away. Less than 6 months, because it's almost June. So anyway, I wanted to get this video out of the way because it was probably going to be my longest one, hardest one to get through, and of course, some of the more a lot of things I wanted to outline in this. So hopefully we get some real answers soon. I know Tucker has stayed on top of this. He's really one of the only mainstream shows I watch at all when it comes to news. And I do appreciate all of you for watching. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, whether you're on YouTube, BitChute, Rumble. I keep forgetting to say that at the end of my videos. I upload these to all 3 of those platforms. So I thank every single one of you that subscribe on any of those platforms. This is something I really enjoy doing. I don't get paid to do it, but I just like doing it because this talking politics and current events interests me very much. And if you hear a noise in the background, I do apologize. My dog is on the couch next to me, and he snores very loudly, and I can't do anything about it. So apologies if you hear that in the background. And I will see you all in the next video.